Criticism, judgments, and opinions. Who needs them? Actually, you do. It's written in the Bible that the Creator said, "It's not good for man to be alone. Let me create a helpmate opposing him." When we think of support and assistance, we rarely, if ever, think of it in terms of opposition. However, the benefits of opposition are powerful, as illustrated by the real-life story of race car drivers James Hunt and Niki Lauda's famous rivalry. A horrific accident occurred in one of their races, leaving Niki Lauda severely burned over a majority of his body. After months in the hospital, he eventually recovered and went back to racing. He shared that while he was in the hospital, he would watch James Hunt's races on television, all the while yelling at the TV about how much he hated him. One day, while getting his lungs pumped and vacuumed, his doctor said to him, "Stop thinking of it as a curse to have been given an enemy in life. It can be a blessing too. A wise man gets more from his enemies than a fool does from his friends." Niki realized that without James, neither one of them would be as successful as they had become, both winning championships in different years. Without James pushing him and challenging him, he would have never become the driver that he was meant to be. In later conversation, James said, "In many ways, I feel responsible for what happened." Niki cut him off and said, "You were. But trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life made you equally responsible for getting me back in the car." The transformation that allowed them to become friends was the moment they stopped seeing their difficulties with one another as being personal or a curse. Instead of making it about that awful person and feeling of hatred towards each other, they realized that their enemy was actually their blessing, pushing them toward greatness. Once they understood this, they were able to transform their vengeance into appreciation for the opposition. The biggest indication that we're on the right path is if people around us oppose it, because true spiritual work requires opposition. If you're doing something big in the world, there has to be a force opposing you. When Rav and Karen Berg opened the teachings of Kabbalah to anyone who wanted to learn, they were shunned, slandered, and reviled by their neighbors, friends, and community. People threw stones. They met so much opposition that in later years, when the Kabbalah Center's teachings were met with less resistance, it made the Rav nervous. You will always hate opposition until you see the purpose in it. Opposition never feels good until you can appreciate its value and benefit in your life. If you feel opposition in your relationship or your life, shift your perspective to find what is within yourself that needs clarifying. What beliefs you hold that are either serving you or hindering you. Look to see how that opposition is pointing you in the direction of your highest self.